gotta endure, 'cause one day you'll suffer no more. To his hand and let him give you peace. Let his wisdom give you guidance. Give all your worries to him. I'm trying to tell you, 'cause I've been there, and by his grace I'm still here. 'Cause you got to hold on. Don't you get weak, you can hold on. Don't you give up, be strong. You don't have to cry, hold on. We can make it.
I know that the fire can get deep, and it can seem like every part of you is weak, but that's when he is strong. Just know it won't be long. Don't be hasty, it's a marathon.
Just hold on to his hand and
Let him give you peace.
let his wisdom give you guidance.
Give all your worries to him. Don't get weary, 'cause I've been there, and by his grace I'm still here. 'Cause you got to
Hold on,
don't you get weak, you can
hold on.
You're gonna make it.
Be strong.
You don't have to cry.
Hold on. We can make it. Hold on. Hold on. Be strong. Hold on. Hold on. Be strong. Yeah. 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 'Cause he said in his word, hold on. Cast your cares upon him. Hold on. Hold on. Be strong. We can make it. Hold on. Hold on. You can make it. Hold on. Gotta believe it. Be strong. Keep the faith. Keep the faith. Just hold on. Hold on. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hold on. Yeah. Be strong. We can make it.
Tell them. Yeah, all my brothers, yeah, we rich shock. We got the truth, we come from rich stock. That's on my tribe, I never flip-flop. Thy kingdom come, now watch it TikTok. We got this truth and now we rich up. We headed back up to the tip top. Menorah golden, watch your trip drop. We in the hood, but now we rich up. Yeah. My folks stayed in the Hoovers, I was born in the trades. I was raised in the hundreds, but I ain't never joined the gang. Affiliated, I was with it, I ain't played no games. Wasn't banging, but I had to show I ain't no lame. Copperworth Entertainment, yeah, I did my thing. Until I woke up to this truth and found out we still slaves. Niggas killing over colors, time to rise up for our brothers. Time to unify our hustles, time to lead our baby mothers out to lay like Nazareth. I was raised up out the gutter, for the homies I got locked up, not a word I never uttered. So for Yasharahla, yeah, you best believe I'll die. This ain't Christianity, you best believe
Yeah,
I'll
all my
ride.
brothers, yeah, we rich shock. We got the truth, we come from rich stock. That's on my tribe, I never flip-flop. Thy kingdom come, now watch it TikTok. We got this truth and now we rich up. We headed back up to the tip top.
We rich.
Menorah golden, watch your drip drop. We in the hood, but now we rich up. Yeah.
Yeah,
Reclining my seats, I'm looking at the stars. Not too long ago was blowing kush about the car. Always wanted fame until I found the 12 stars. But now a nigga rich, the wisdom got me hella far. Looking back on my life, this shit is so surreal. Like I came up on the lotto, how a nigga feel. Keep the law as the motto, now tell me what's the deal. Riding smooth, diamond chain, compliment the wheels. Yeah, that's how we pull up fly. If my brothers got an issue, then I bet I ride. Even if I take a loss, you can bet I try. Cause I'ma get a couple off, and that's before I
all my
die.
brothers, yeah, we rich shock. We got the truth, we come from rich stock. That's on my tribe, I never flip-flop. Like kingdom come, now watch it TikTok. We got this truth and now we rich up. We headed back up to the tip top. Menorah gold and watch it drip drop. We in the hood, but now we rich up. Yeah.
It's so cold in these streets, I take the heat outside. I keep a sword like Cephas, just believe I might. Ain't an army on this earth that can see these tribes. Dressed in warlike apparel, best believe we fly. It's time to get the doctrine right, it's time to feed these sheep. What we sowing to each other, that's what we gon' reap. Shit, you niggas claim you bout that life. Some niggas banging for the set, but I'm an Israelite. He full of pride and full of shit, then I'ma cut him on sight. Hakeem ain't never gotta tell me twice. I'm a soldier for Christ, and Mashiach the king is not to be mocked. I love my nation, but 2/3 of y'all can still get popped. Blah.
Desire one Ariala. Yashamai. Yasharahla.
We got the truth, we come from rich stock. That's on my tribe, I never flip-flop. For kingdom come, now watch it TikTok.
not the dirt. Yeah. Smooth shit. Yeah. Pull up the block spinning, new ride and my girlfriend's master presidential inside. Yeah. Ray-Bans on my eyes. We done bruised in charge. I don't know why they still be looking surprised. Add fuel to my fire, take it higher than they ever seen. My life a movie and I'm living out the best scenes. They call me cocky, in reality I'm confident. And every night we taking shots to our accomplishments. Cheers. A lot of food, put it on my plate, and baby pressing not to tell her to wait. She see the signs of the times and the world is so boring. I'd rather pull out the old schools and new forms. Tell me what you want, I'll tell you what you need. The mother niggas stuck, Bruce took the lead. I'm teaching on them streets that I used to run, and afterwards chilling with my Aki on. What's up? Jake's claiming that they own, and they crew is legit. Yeah, I see the things that they doing when they do it, but they don't do it like this. Not at all. Niggas say that they the bomb, and they really be lit. What? I see the things that they doing when they do it, but they don't do it like this. Straight game, money over fame. Put it in accounts, double the amount on some Oprah shit. On occasion we be toasting, and what I'm sipping now the same color as the ocean is. Ride slow with the beat up, sister got her feet up. Head wrap with a skirt on when we meet up. It's really a play, my vibe reading South Central LA. And yeah, we got it cracking from the streets to the bay. All praises to Yahweh when I kneel and I pray, knowing it's all good. I teach truth and spread light in the hood, doing exactly what we want, they only do what they could. Common sense is genius dressed in his working clothes. It's like I work and work more, y'all just working clothes. A lot of bad attitudes and some broken souls. The city of fallen angels, guess that's how it goes. Damn. Jake's claiming that they own, and they crew is legit. I bet. I see the things that they doing when they do it, but they don't do it like this. Niggas say that they the bomb, and they really be lit. I see the things that they doing when they do it, but they don't do it like this. True Nation.
I just gotta let you know that you've been so good to me. And I know that I can't do it by myself. I need your love so desperately. It's been times I wanted to give up, but your words, they spoke to me. Fill my spirit, help me to believe, but sometimes I still get weak.
I need you to fill me up, until I overflow. The keeper of my way. I need you to fill me up. I need your love always, so I won't go astray. The keeper of my way. I know you know my thoughts, I know you know my flaws. Your love fills up every empty part of me that was hiding for so long. The love of my life, now I've evolved. I wanna be what you want, and by your strength I'll break down every wall. I need you to fill me up, until I overflow. The keeper of my way, the keeper of my way.
Shalom, Israel. First and foremost, we want to apologize. We were ready on time, pretty much, but we were having difficulties with the PowerPoint. So what we're going to have to do, unfortunately, is read off the information to you guys. We'll try to make sure that we give you all the sources to the things that we're speaking on. But for some odd reason, today, on what I consider to be a very important topic, PowerPoint don't want to act right. So it's Tuesday, Bible Basics. We're going into who are the 12 tribes of Israel today. I'm going to get a couple scriptures first. Let's go to Romans 3. Romans chapter 3. And verse 1.
Romans 3 and 1. What advantage then hath the Jew?
So the point is this. A lot of people are trying to, we had these conversations with people all the time. Like, it doesn't matter if you're a Jew. It doesn't matter if you're an Israelite. Wow, why do you guys care so much, right? I want to get a couple scriptures to talk about why it matters. Why it absolutely matters. Go ahead, read that.
Or what profit is there of circumcision?
What advantage does a Jew have? What profit do you have that you are a part of what is considered the circumcision, right? Read.
Much every way.
Said everything, right? Read.
Chiefly because that unto them were committed the oracles of God.
Mainly because the direction, the oracles refer to the direction, the instruction. So the Lord was dealing with these people enough to tell them, this is what I want from you. This is what I require from you, right? So what does it matter? Because a lot of people are trying to say, it doesn't matter as long as you're trying to live right, as long as you're abiding in the laws of God. No, it matters. According to the Bible, it matters. Romans 9. Watch this.
Romans chapter 9, starting from the top. I say the truth in Christ, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Holy Ghost, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart.
Read.
For I could wish that myself were accursed from Christ, from my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh.
He said, I wish I could be a curse for these people, right? He said, my kinsmen, my family, my people, because he was from the tribe of Benjamin. He was an Israelite, right? Read.
Who are Israelites?
Right. Why does this matter? Read.
To whom pertaineth the adoption?
It says that when we talk about the adoption, adopting something means they chose this particular thing. If you adopt a custom, you chose that custom. You chose to follow that custom. If you adopt a child, you chose that child to be yours. So it said that the Israelites were adopted by the Lord. He chose us. He chose to make us a part of him, of his people. In Deuteronomy 7 and 6, it says that, right? It said, to whom pertaineth the adoption, read.
And the glory.
And the glory, right, read.
And the covenants.
And the agreements, and the covenants, the laws, the judgments, the blessings if we kept the law, the curses if we didn't keep the law, right, read.
And the giving of the law, and the service of God.
And the giving of the law, which is very important because you have to keep these laws to enter into the kingdom. Right? And the service of God. Who is the one that can service the Lord? Who is the one that can serve the Lord? Right? Read.
And the promises.
And the promises. The promise of eternal life. The promise of everlasting life. The promise of the kingdom. The promise of salvation from your enemies. All of this stuff is for Israel. This is why it's important to know who the Israelites are. Because a lot of people sit up there and act like, what does it matter? Who cares? It matters a lot. A lot of people care, or should care at least, right? Is that, no, read on. There's another part in there.
Whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, Christ came.
And Christ came to save the Israelites. Let's get one in Acts. Go ahead to Acts 5. Acts chapter 5, we're going to read 30 through 31.
God. Acts chapter 5, verse 30.
Uh-huh.
The God of our fathers raised up Jesus,
Uh-huh.
whom ye slew and hanged on a tree.
Right.
Him hath God exalted with his right hand to be a prince and a savior,
Read.
for to give repentance to Israel
Uh-huh.
and forgiveness of sins.
That's who Christ came and died for. Matthew 1:21 says the exact same thing, right? So I want to lay the foundation. Why does it even matter who the Israelites are? This is why. Because all of the promises pertain to us. The adoption, who the Lord chose to be his, that's us. That's the Israelites, right? So now, let's talk about it. Let's get into it.
God.
Let's go to how I want to do this. Let's go to Isaiah. The book of Isaiah.
God. Isaiah chapter 11.
Go down to verse 11.
Isaiah 11 and 11. And it shall come to pass in that day.
Now watch this. This is talking about end times. It says, in this particular day, right, read.
That the Lord shall set his hand again the second time,
Right.
to recover the remnant of his people,
To recover the Israelites, right, read.
which shall be left from Assyria,
Uh-huh.
and from Egypt,
Uh-huh.
and from Pathros,
Uh-huh.
and from Cush,
Uh-huh.
and from Elam,
Uh-huh.
and from Shinar,
Uh-huh.
and from Hamath,
Right.
and from the lands of the sea.
Read.
And he shall set up an ensign for the nations,
Watch this, read.
and shall assemble the outcasts of Israel,
Uh-huh.
and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth.
So first and foremost, we got to understand Israel, they were scattered all across the four corners of the earth. We have remnants, that's what it's talking about, the outcast, the remnants. We have remnants across the world, right? So I want to lay that down first because a lot of people get pigeonholed into saying, oh, it's just these people. No, we're dispersed. We're dispersed everywhere. Even in places that just ain't no, they not Israelites. They may not be Israelites, but we have Israelites scattered there, right? Let's go to Zechariah 7. Verse 14.
God.
Zechariah chapter 7,
God.
verse 14.
Zechariah 7 and 14. But I scattered them with the whirlwind among all the nations,
Uh-huh.
whom they knew not.
Right. It said we were scattered among all the nations, everywhere. Oh, what's going on? 1 second. Salakia. It says we were scattered amongst all the nations. We were scattered everywhere. So for individuals who have Israel marginalized to just the Western Hemisphere or whatever the case is, you have to remember there's a remnant of us everywhere. This is what people keep forgetting. There is a remnant of us all over the world, right? Go to Deuteronomy. So now the question is this. We know that we're everywhere. Scriptures tell us we're everywhere. How do we pinpoint, okay, these are Israelites. These are not Israelites. The Israelites were here. The Israelites were not here. How do we start to figure out where we should be looking, where we feel like we are? Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 32. That's not working. 32, verse 7.
God. Deuteronomy 32 and 7. Remember the days of old.
Uh-huh.
Consider the years of many generations. Ask thy father, and he will show thee. Thy elders, and they will tell thee.
Says go and research your history. If you go and you dig enough, you will find answers. Go to Job 8:8. If you look hard enough, you will find that there are some answers for you. People are always saying, well, we don't really know who the Israelites are. We do. You can definitely go through history. You can see the archaeology. You can look at cultural similarities. You can look into the scriptures and see this is what's going on. There are definitely people that fit exactly these points, right? Job 8:8, read that.
Job 8:8. For inquire, I pray thee, of the former age, and prepare thyself to the search of their fathers.
Right. History. It is important to know history. It is important to know your history. Because if you know your history, then it's easy for you to have something to stand on. Because you're like, no, I can prove this because boom, boom, boom. I can prove this because I've done the research, right? So go and do your research. Look into history. I want to deal with history first. I unfortunately do not have the PowerPoint because something's going on with our software, but we're going to read off of these slides that we have. The first one is from history.com/news. What part of Africa did most slaves come from? And we're going to get to why this is important. Just walk with us, right? West African slaves, read that.
Of those Africans who arrived in the United States, nearly half came from two regions. Senegambia, the area comprising the Senegal and Gambia rivers and the land between them, or today's Senegal, Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, and Mali, and West Central Africa, including what is now Angola, Congo, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and Gabon.
Right. Read.
In addition to the nearly 50% of the total number of enslaved Africans in the United States from these two regions, a considerable number of enslaved people had their origins in the West African nation of Ghana.
Right. Now, before we get into that, Angola, Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, this is talking about you have West Africa, and you have just east of that, not in East Africa, but still on the west side, down the side of Africa, right as the continent curves in, there's a little area. I won't call it a little area. There's an area, and that's where Angola, Congo, and so on and so forth is. And then you have Mali, which is actually West Africa, right? So it says a lot of the slaves came from these areas, right? Read.
Con.
And then now we went into talking about a lot of them came from Ghana. Read.
As well as neighboring parts of the Windward Coast, now Ivory Coast. Others originated in the Bight of Biafra, including parts of present-day eastern Nigeria and Cameroon.
Right.
An inlet of the Atlantic on Africa's western coast that was a hub of extensive slave-dealing operations.
Right. So in short, all of the areas that we always talk about, the Ghana, Benin, Nigeria, Sierra Leone, Mali, which is just north of Sierra Leone, Congo, which is just southeast of Nigeria. All of these areas is where the slaves came from, right? So I want you to keep that in mind and remember this. So we're talking about all of the slaves. I wish I could show them these maps, but we're going to have to go on to the book source. Timbuktu. Go to the next one.
Con.
Read that.
From Babylon to Timbuktu, page 84.
So page 84, Babylon to Timbuktu by Rudolph R. Windsor. This is like Israelite 101. But we're going to touch a number of other topics. I just want to get this established, right? Read.
In the year 65 BC, the Roman armies under General Pompey captured Jerusalem. In 70 AD, General Vespasian and his son Titus put an end to the Jewish state with great slaughter. During the period of the military governors of Palestine, many outrages and atrocities were committed against the residue of the people. During the period from Pompey to Julius, it has been estimated that over 1 million Jews fled into Africa.
So, read on.
Fleeing from Roman persecution and slavery.
There was over 1 million Jews. Some of them fled into Europe. Some of them fled into the Iberian Peninsula. Some of them fled east. Some of them went into India. Some of them went into Syria, right? But it says over 1 million of them went into Africa. They fled into the mountains, as the scriptures say. When you see, what did they say? When you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, flee into the mountains. Well, just west of Israel was what's known as North Africa. And if you flee far enough west, which is what the majority of the Jews did, they migrated further west, you run into what's called the Atlas Mountains, right? So these people fled into the mountains and then migrated south from there. But it says they ran fleeing Roman persecution. Over 1 million Jews did it, right? Read.
The slave markets were full of
just
black
a little
Jews.
bit.
Full of black Jewish slaves.
Just a few hundred.
Full at capacity.
It says the slave markets were full of black Jewish slaves, right? This is important to understand. Now, right.
Right.
It's killing me. It's a slave voyage manifesto. You can find this at slavevoyages.com/resources/name database. So we have the number of the slaves in this particular order. One of the slaves was number 48243. Their name, these are all Hebrew name slaves. Baya, Banaya, Abaya, Hosanna, Levi, Isaiah, Abaya, Jeremiah, Joseph, Yahweh,
Kaya, Hosea.
Right. Barbanya, Yaakov, which I'm assuming is what is it called?
It's like Yaki or
yeah, but what's the word? A variant of like Yaki or Yaiquab, one of the two. I'm assuming, or Yaakov, because that's how they say it. Yahweh.
I think that's a variant too. Yahweh. Yeah, right.
Aliyah, Naya, Yala.
We know some people with these names,
right?
But
Micaiah,
right?
Bonbiah, Hosea, or which is Hosea, Josiah, Malek, which is Malak, Joseph, Ashan, Moses, Elijah, Mosiah. These are from the Slave Manifesto on slavevoyages.org, right? So it says that the slave market was full of black Jewish slaves. We see the Slave Voyage Manifesto has a number of Hebrew names, Israelite names. And it's not like, oh, that's a reach. Like, no, these Levi, Hosea, Micaiah, these are biblical names. And when you read the history, a lot of times a lot of these names were used over and over because they have meaning behind them. So if they felt that this name fit the situation they were going through, if they felt that this name fit the time that they were in, if they felt this name would fit their child because that's what they wanted them to live up to, that's what they gave them, right? So you have a number of biblical names. slavevoyages.org. Next slide. Oh, you got it. Babylon to Timbuktu, page 130. Go ahead, read that.
Among the Ashantis of the Gold Coast, Ghana, are found Jews who observe many Hebrew customs.
Right, so among Ghana, because they didn't get rid of everyone in Ghana. Matter of fact, we have a congregation in Ghana of about a couple hundred, and they know the history out there that, oh, we're the real Jews. They are out there teaching the people that they're the real Jews. Amongst the Ashantis, amongst the Gold Coast of Ghana, it says, are found Jews who observe, read?
Hebrew customs.
Now, how much Hebrew customs?
Many Hebrew customs.
Many Hebrew customs, read?
They don't fight on Saturday.
which the Maccabees spoke about that. People were being destroyed because they refused to fight on the Sabbath. As a matter of fact, after the first situation that happened in the book of Maccabees, there's a historic account of Hyrcanus, which is, I believe, the grandson. Well, one of them is the grandson. One of them is the direct son of Simon. He refused, or during the time when they were fighting, they refused to fight against the Romans, right? So I think that was the grandson then. Hyrcanus the second refused to fight against, or Aristobulus actually, because Hyrcanus was friends with the Romans. Aristobulus, who was on the other side of the Israelites, he hated the Romans, but they was going to war and they were trying to overtake the temple. And every Saturday, because that's the scripture, that's what the historical account says, every day of Saturn, they found out that the Jews were not fighting. So they do not fight on Saturday. They do not fight on their Sabbath, right? But they rest. Read.
They rest. They use the word amen.
Amen. Read.
At the end of their hymn of thanksgiving.
Right, because that means so be it. Amen means so be it. So at the end of whatever you said, let it be so. Right, read.
Like the Hebrews of old, they marry in their tribe only.
Right, read. That's a law. Read.
They perform cross-cousin marriages.
Right.
The Ashanti Jews also observe laws of uncleanness.
Right.
After childbirth.
Read.
Purification ceremony
Read.
of the 40th day. The menstrual seclusion law.
Right.
And ceremonial ablutions. The Ashanti Jews have a breastplate like the high priest in ancient Israel, and it is divided into 12 parts representing the 12 tribes of Israel.
Right. So again, who cares? What does it matter? This is why it matters. You have a group of individuals, and this shows you how important it is. You have a group of individuals who have pillaged pretty much the whole world. They have appropriated a number of people's culture. They have stolen people's identity. They have given people different identity. And they said, oh, the Jews, the Israelites, that's us. But when you read history, when you look at the archaeology, when you read the scriptures, you see that that's not so. But this is the importance. Because it must be something special about these people for someone to say, I want to take, I'll rename everyone else. I don't really care about that. But I'm going to rename these people and then take their identity, right? But it's showing you right now, in history, those that were on the slave coast have very similar customs, and they didn't have a quote-unquote King James Bible. They didn't have one of these. They did have a Torah, but it wasn't in English. And they observed the exact same laws, the exact same ceremonies, the exact same ordinances as written in here. Coincidence? I don't think so, right? It says also they have the misnefet or headdress and its gold disc in the front, which in ancient Israel bore an inscription, holy unto the Lord. This is just one example. We're about to go through a number of them. From Babylon to Timbuktu, page 130 through 131, the Jews of Dahomey, right? This is, I think Dahomey was actually in Nigeria. I'm going to double check, but I believe that's where it was from. Go ahead.
Dr. J. Kreppel reported in 1926 that there existed a large Hebrew community of black Jews in the interior of Dahomey,
Read.
West Africa. These Hebrews have their own central temple where they sacrifice animals.
So some of these people still felt like they were under the sacrificial law. That was something that was going on even in the book of Acts. Some people was like, we believe in Christ. Some people said we don't believe in Christ. Some people said we're going to continue to sacrifice. Some people say we're not. Now, here's the thing. Some people understood that Christ was here, but he did away with sacrifices for sin. If people wanted to give goodwill offerings, they wanted to sacrifice turtle doves and stuff like that, you could still do that as an oblation to the Lord, right? And some of these people did that. It said that these individuals had their own temple where they sacrificed animals. Read.
In their temple are found many laws engraved on tablets, which are attached to the temple walls.
Which is the exact same laws that are written in here, the Torah, right? These Africans in West Africa, where over 1 million Jews fled into, and of course they multiplied because they had children, and they were enslaved. Not all of them, but a huge number of them were enslaved and brought into America. Says these people that were in these regions had their own temples. They had Hebrew customs. Says in their temples they had the laws engraved. I'm not talking about the laws of who we refer to as Esau, the so-called. I don't want to get us. I'm trying not to get us suspended, so I'm trying to. I'm trying to make sure I choose my words properly.
Right.
Those that rule this world today. We're not talking about them laws. We talking about the laws of the Bible, the laws of the Torah. Right? Read.
Moreover, these Jews have their own Chumash,
Right.
which is to say the 5 books of Moses,
So they had a Torah, right? Read.
written on old parchment in Hebrew letters.
And it wasn't here. Oh, that's that Bible. Okay. They have Hebrew inscriptions on parchment. Some people use parchment. Some people use papyri. Just so happened out here in this area, the Ashantis were using, the Jews of Dahomey was using parchment. It says that these people had their own Torah written on parchment in their temple. And they had laws written on their walls. Biblical laws. Read.
But they have no other books.
They don't read no other books. They said we focus on the law. Read.
What little Judaism they possess
Judaism, because that's the known term for it. Read.
was transmitted to them from their ancestors.
Right. So whatever history they know, whatever they're practicing, this wasn't, the fair-skinned man came over and gave this to them. No, it said they learned this from their ancestors. Right? Read on.
They observed the Sabbath and other Jewish customs.
Watch this.
Despite pressure from their pagan environment.
Everybody else over there, Africa has a lot of these people are polytheistic. It says despite what everybody else is doing around them, they said we rooted in this Torah. We rooted in this book. We're not venturing off into witchcraft. We don't give a shit about Krishna. We don't care about Vishnu. We don't care about Buddha. They said Torah. That's it. That's all we care about. Right? Again, West Africa, where we were taken from. These people were and still do practice these things. We are the descendants of those people. These people migrated from a certain place, and we know this because they have the same customs as the people that were on the East Mediterranean, also known as Israel, which people refer to as Palestine today. Page 132, read. The Yoruba Jews in Nigeria, read.
They are known to have copies of portions of Torah.
The Yorubas in Nigeria, known to have copies of the portions of Torah. Read.
Preserved in a most holy place.
What they refer to as their temple. I'm so upset that I cannot show this to you guys. Like, I want you guys to read along with me. This bothers me. But our PowerPoint is down. But I feel like it would have a much stronger impact. But I pray to the Most High that y'all feel what I'm saying right now. The Jews in Nigeria have portions of the Torah in their own temple. Now, remember, the Levites had in Jerusalem the temple, but you had places of sacrifice all over the other cities in Israel where Levites were. So they had their own places designated for sacrifices. Everybody wasn't going to Jerusalem for a peace offering. It was only when they needed to go. Passover, tabernacles, first fruits. But you could still give offerings. They were doing just this. They are doing just this. Read on.
Khan. Their social life is not Torah controlled like many of the Hebrew cultural traits among the Ashanti.
So they're not as, tight or orthodox as the Ashanti Jews. Read.
These black Jews observe certain Jewish customs, among which are the great and holy days.
Right, so the Ashantis are like,
on
we
point.
to a T. The Nigerians are like, we do that over there, but we don't really do that over there. But, we know what it is. Now, mind you, this was the same thing going on in Israel. There ain't nothing new, right? Read on.
In almost every way, these black Jews are like the Yorubas and are hardly distinguishable from them except for some outstanding Hebrew observances.
Right. So they said of all the people that were in Yoruba or of the Yoruba tribe, he said some of them were pagan or some of them observed other things, but it wasn't everyone. And that's what differentiated the Jews that were observing the customs and everybody else, right? I'm gonna figure out. Y'all gonna hear this. Hold on. Where's the speaker?
Right.
Oh, matter of fact, I can plug it in without the HDMI. All praise to the Most High.
It'd be great if they could see the dude.
Bruh. Oh, this hurts my heart. I'm gonna plug this in. I want y'all to hear this. This Jewish man's name is Harry Rosenberg. And he is a Jewish teacher. And I want you to hear what this man says. I think it starts at 3 minutes. Rob, unmute the, I think it's the ox. Unmute the ox, please.
Okay.
Let's listen to what he says. Let me know, please. Comment in the comment inside of the chat if you cannot hear it.
Or Igbo, pronounced either way. There's 40 million of them. Also Christians, like I spoke about before, how that could happen to the children of Israel very easily. But also a lot of them are now coming out and converting back or adopting the rules of the Torah without all the paganism that they've been practicing for hundreds of years.
So he's talking about the Igbo tribe. A lot of people have heard about the Igbos, I believe, of Nigeria. And they understand that those were Hebrews, right? And he's saying a lot of them were pagan, and they've learned that they are Jews. Not all of them, of course, but we were there in bulk, right? And he said, and they're converting back to their beliefs. They're converting back to their culture. But this is something very important that's about to happen. Something very important.
From scholars in Nigeria, from scholars from the Jewish people. And where it gets interesting is, in America, there was a slave trade.
Listen to what he's about to say. In America, there was a slave trade. People look at the Israelites, these niggas is crazy. I'm giving it to you straight from an individual who is one of them. A teacher for them. I'll probably go look stupid, but I don't care. I want y'all to see this. Hold on. Y'all not gonna be able to watch it as it's going on, but I want y'all. I'm about to stand up. Y'all about to see this. Hold on. Oh, that's
Damn. Oh, all right, there you go.
This is the man. I'm about to try to put it in the camera so y'all can see. That's the guy who's talking about this information right now. This is a Jewish teacher that's about to give you some free game that the Israelites been saying, but people look at us like we crazy when we say it. Y'all finna hear it straight out of the dog's mouth.
Oof.
And a lot of the slaves, a very high percentage of them, came from Western Nigerian ports. And in America today, you see a very large movement of African Americans who say that they're the real chosen people, that they're the children of Israel, they're the Judeans.
You heard that? He said in America there was a slave trade. These people are starting to say, hey, no, that's us. We're the children of Israel.
You know, so what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves?
He said, so are they just, talking out there, they trying to just, they reaching for something? Watch this.
They were slaves, or is there really something here? And
he said, are they just making an identity for themselves? And I know y'all probably like, just play the damn no, I'm building the suspense. I want y'all to listen. He said, is there something there, or are they just, reaching, trying to build an identity for themselves because they don't have one. Watch what he says. I backed it up just a little bit.
And the answer is, most likely there is something there.
Oh, wait.
And most likely, there's really...
Hold on, I'm sorry. We're going to hear this again.
So what are they just trying to create an identity for themselves because they were slaves? Or is there really something here? And the answer is, most likely there is something there.
Wow.
And most likely, maybe that they were the original Israelites. And
What? What? Specific. He said there's a movement of in America there was a slave trade. These people in America who are descendants of those slaves have started a movement. They believe that they are the children of God. They believe that they are the Israelites. Are they reaching? Are they making this up because they just need an identity? Or is there something there? He said, most likely there is something there, and they really are the children of Israel. Watch this.
maybe that they were the original Israelites, and maybe that the Jewish people today who are white, Caucasian people came in a little bit later on.
They were converts and they stole identity. That's what he's saying. Then he goes on to talk about, some of the greatest Jewish scholars were converts and blah, blah, blah. I don't care about that. He said the Jews, more than likely, these African Americans that are saying they're Jews are Jews. Maybe we did come in a little later. And that's him being soft about it. He know damn well he came in later. He knows this. But he didn't want to offend his audience. I hope y'all hear what's being said right now. Who are the Israelites today? Are we really crazy? Are these brothers and sisters that's saying this, are they crazy? Just some loud, crazy niggas on the corner? Or are we just passionate individuals trying to wake up our people and show them who their culture is and show them who they really are? Because, again, I'd say this all the time when we out teaching on the block. You can't know where you're going unless you know where you've been. Those that don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. Do me a favor. Let's go here real quick. Those that don't know their history are doomed to repeat it. Those that don't know their history will have their history told to them and rewritten for them by an individual who was only out for their own personal gain. The Bible expresses that the Israelites are the children of God. There's an importance to that. The importance is, give me a second. The importance is we were held to a higher standard. We were told that if we obey, we will have these things. If we disobey, we will have these things. And if we understand who we are, we understand what God requires of us, we understand what we need to do. So it's very important to know this stuff. This ain't just for, that's some good knowledge. No. You now know that you're an Israelite. Now you need to know what you need to do. Because if you know you're an Israelite, and if you read this book and it says, hey, these things are going to happen to you, Israelites, and all of these things have happened, on the negative side, he said, but if you do right, then all of these things have happened. Then you got to know that the positive things are going to happen as well. Salvation is a real thing. The kingdom is a real thing. This is why it's important to know who you are. And again, we just some crazy motherfuckers on the corner. You heard it straight out the dog's mouth. The ones that took what's yours, you just heard it from them. Give me a second. Then I'm going to give it back to you. So I can see what's going on. There we go. All right. I'm sorry. I have another one. The next one's a video too. This is a woman from Israel, from Palestine. I want you to listen. Make sure the aux is unmuted, you Rob.
Hi, Shalom, Shalom from Israel. This is Ola, the daughter of Jethro. And I just heard that you black people that was stolen from Africa to America, that you don't know who you are.
So she's from Jethro, she said. And she said, I just heard. Now, this is an old video. I found this video in like 2016. Never thought I would use it. I just kept it for my reference, my records, right? She said, I heard that y'all don't know who you are. Read. Listen.
But you are the children of Yahweh.
You are the children of Yahweh, right? You are the Israelites. Read. Just listen.
The children of Israel. And I'm telling you, you have to come back to your homeland, here to Zion, to Jerusalem, because us, the Gentiles, we do need you. We need you to come and pray because you are our saviors. You're the one that was chosen by Yahweh to live in this land, not the Jewish people, it's you. You were stolen from Africa, they deceived you, they told you that you are slaves, but you...
This is not even here, these are people from there. Y'all don't understand how passionate I am about this. You not hearing it from us, you ain't hearing it from a book, you hearing it from the other nation. And this is what's so crazy. Yashimai, Bishop Tazayuan, brothers went to Nigeria, brothers went to Ghana, and a lot of the people know this already. I know people that lived or came from what is it called? From London, from England, and they know this already. In Greece, they know this already. We don't know this. You don't understand how important this really is. This is crazy. This woman is from Jethro. She's from the Middle East. She's from right next door to Israel. Or right next door to Jerusalem. She's over there. And she's telling you, you guys were stolen. You guys are the Israelites. Unmute the aux.
Children of Israel. And it's time just to come back. Come for your people, come back for us, come back for the whole Gentiles, because only you gonna save us. So please come back to Zion.
She said, please come back.
Please come back. Only you can save us. Now, I've heard this a number of times because people are always trying to figure it out. Kids are trying to figure it out. Why do people look so down on quote-unquote black people? Why do people feel like we're worthless? Why are we at the bottom of the barrel? Let's go get this damn scripture. I told you there's going to be a couple of things that's just like off the top. Psalm 83, 82, 83. 83. You know what I'm looking for.
Con.
You know what I want. Go ahead.
Psalm 83, verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. For lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people.
It said they have taken a counsel on how we going to keep these people down. How are we going to keep them lost? How are we going to keep them confused? Read.
And consulted against thy hidden ones.
Why are they the hidden ones? Because they don't know who they are. Their identity is hidden from them. Read.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
That what?
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
Why does this matter? Go to Judith. Chapter 5, verse 17. Judith.
That's in the Apocrypha.
Yeah, in the Apocrypha. This is we. When I saw that I had this lesson, I didn't know that I was going to be this hype when I started teaching it, but I was excited that I was going to teach this lesson because I it's like so much proof, so much information, and I get to show you why it even matters. Because a lot of people are, we know we the real Jews. Okay, then get your ass on board and do right.
Con.
This is the importance. Judith 5:17, read.
Judith 5:17. And whilst they sinned not before their God, they prospered.
It says when we wasn't sinning, when we wasn't being wicked, when we was doing right, we prospered. Read.
Because the God that hateth iniquity was with them.
He said because when we was doing right, God was with us. When we was on shenanigans, read on. I'm sorry. I'm jumping the gun. Read on.
But when they departed from the way which he appointed them, they were destroyed in many battles very sore.
But when we decided to be wicked, when we decided to do wrong, when we decided to be wrong, he said we got destroyed. So why did I bring this out? I'm showing you who the real Jews are. Now I'm telling you before I continue on why it even matters. Because everything was promised to us. But we're in a position now why niggas is in the ghetto. Why we got to work 6-7 days a week to make ends meet barely. Why we the first fired, last hired. Why everyone looks down on us and we're the butt of every joke. Why we're the most talented and everyone loves us but hates us at the same time. Why is it that everything that goes on in America is contrary to the Bible? Because when we sin and we do wrong, we're destroyed by our enemies. Want to know why they put pepperoni on everything? Because they know the Lord said it's an abomination. And as long as you continue to keep your body defiled, we continue to stay at the bottom. You want to know why they pushing? Well, they just made it a little more difficult. Why they were pushing Planned Parenthood in our communities? Because according to the Bible, abortion is illegal. And because we were doing it, we were transgressing against the laws of the Most High God. You want to know why the ABC, you and me, flying Tinkerbell fairies are pushing are programming our children? Because it's directed mainly at our children. We want to get them confused so they continue to break these laws, so they continue to stay down there. This is why it's important to know who you are. Because if you understand who you are, you understand your culture, you understand what you should be doing. Because we don't have history, because we don't have a culture, we just take what we can get. Black culture is shaking your... let me get a little more formal. Black culture is women degrading themselves, shaking their butts in front of their kids, on cameras, FREE, Glorilla talking about she free. This is the stuff that we love. We relish in ignorance. And we've been programmed to do so. The people who run everything have made it a point to push negativity in hip-hop music because that is a predominantly us genre. And when they push that, we are the ones that act it out because we're the one that's programmed and influenced by it. And the more that we stay in sin, the longer we stay here. This is important stuff to know because you got to know who you are, but you got to know why it matters. So we done dealt with the descendants of those that were in the transatlantic slave trade. We done shown you a number of things that have shown that's us. That is us. Well, but y'all say the Mexicans too. Y'all the Salvadorians too. Y'all say the niggas that was conquered by the Spaniards, they Israel too. Okay, now we're going to get into that. This is from, excuse me. Let me see if I actually put the source in it. If not, you can still look it up. It's called, oh wait, did I miss something? No, because that's irrelevant. We don't need that. Latinos and Native Americans, are they Israel? I don't know. Let's see. The Las Piedras Stone Collection of Nazario. Go ahead, read it.
The Nazario collection, also known as
Aguebana, or it's probably Aguebana's library.
Father Nazario's rocks and the Phoenician rocks are a cache of carved stones that originated at Guayanilla, Puerto Rico. According to contemporary accounts, the statuettes made of local serpentine rocks were first discovered by Catholic priest Jose Maria Nazario y Cancel during the 19th century.
1800s, read.
And feature unidentified petroglyphs,
writings, carvings in these rocks, read.
That have been speculated to be connected to the old world for over 130 years.
Right, so they were like, this looks pretty ancient. And they had been dealing with this since the 1800s. Like, yo, what is this, right, read?
Nazario would combine his research with his religious background, leading to the hypothesis that there might be some connection between them and the 10 lost tribes.
Right. Now, that's just, it said he what did it say? He combined his research with religious background. That doesn't mean anything. Just put your seatbelt on. Rock with me for a minute. You're going to see. Read.
Turning to the engravings.
No, I'm sorry. This is the Las Piedras Stone Collection of Nazario. For those who are trying to figure it out. Like I said, I'll drop all of it. I'm going to figure out a way to get this out. Go ahead.
While some experts claim that the ancient writing system was similar to Sumerian,
Middle Eastern, Sumeria, which was also Babylon, read.
Others felt it was closer to Phoenician.
Right. Now, Phoenicia was just north of Israel, and they had a Hebrew script as well. Read.
And so spun a complex web of theories built on speculations, which has led many scientists to disregard the whole messy discovery as ridiculous. And so they leave it alone. However, it now seems all those hard-nosed skeptics were utterly and completely wrong.
So they was like, man, we're just going to throw this away because we're confused. This is probably nothing. And then they said, yo, nah, all of these people were absolutely wrong. I want to... Can't even show you the pictures. So I have pictures of the statuettes, and you can see the engravings, and they're very close to Hebrew script, right? Very similar. It's a Semitic inscription. Now, why does that matter? Well, question is, because we know that the Latinos and Native Americans, who they refer to as Indians, altogether, just all y'all as Indians. Why is there Hebrew script here? Why they got rocks and stuff Hebrew in Hebrew carvings on it, right? Just rock with me for a moment. Again, Mexicans ain't Israel, Salvadorans ain't Israel, Cubans ain't Israel. Okay. Just completely unbiased. I want you to take a moment, remove all of your bias, all your preconceived notions, all your prejudices, and just hear the information. Carvings with Hebrew scripts, right? Hebrew writing. Watch this. Unmute the ox, please, Yerab. I want y'all to listen to this. We're gonna break this one down too. This is by a man named Glenn Beck. He got fired off of Fox. But listen to what he's talking. Well, listen to what he says.
Look at the angle of the Great Pyramid of Giza. If you take the angle of the Great Pyramid of Giza, the slope is 51.8 degrees. Let's go back to the earthworks. If you measure the line that goes straight through the center of the structure, right here, and then you go true north, It's 51.8 degrees. That angle is exactly the same angle as the pyramids of Giza. It is the same math, the same calculations as ancient Egyptians.
What's the point in that, right? He said the pyramids that you see in Giza are the same pyramids that you see, because in America, there's a number of pyramids that we don't know about. Some in Ohio, some down the, what river is that? The Mississippi. There's some on that route going down toward the Mississippi. There's pyramids in Mexico. And these pyramids have the exact same architectural blueprint as the ones in Egypt. Well, according to the scriptures, who built those?
The Israelites.
This is the connection that this man is making. We're going to continue. Unmute it.
In 1860, David White.
Now his point was, and he's building a case right now. He said just something as simple as the pyramids. The architectural structure is the exact same as the architectural structure that's out here with these Indian pyramids. North, Central, and South American pyramids. The exact same thing. Now he's moving on to a completely different piece of archaeology. Watch this.
In 1860, David Wyrick. He's a guy who surveyed the Newark earthworks.
Newark earthworks. Newark. I believe that's in Jersey. Let me double check. I could be wrong as heck. Yes, Newark, New Jersey. So the Newark earthworks. There were earthworks. There was archaeology that was in a museum out that way, right?
He was digging into a mound near those earthworks, and he found a wooden coffin made of oak.
He was digging around in that area, and he found a little coffin.
They opened up the coffin and found a skeleton of a man holding a little box. It was about 8.10 inches in size. The box had been cemented shut here. This, by the way, is sitting in Ohio. Well, he opened up the box.
Now it's in Ohio. They sat it in Ohio, I believe, in a museum.
And he found a little man inside, a little black stone. They took it to scholars, and they looked at it. The man seems to be carrying something, and there's writing here. At first, they couldn't recognize. The writing is, they thought in 1860, some sort of Hebrew.
So they thought that this writing was Hebrew. So they found a skeleton. This skeleton was holding a box. This box they opened up. It was a stone with a man carved on it and Hebrew writing, so they thought.
Well, finally, about 20 years later, they found some rabbis.
They found some Jewish rabbis. Our conquerors, cultural conquerors, came and validated it.
In the area, and the rabbis looked at that, and they could read it. They said it was an old kind of block Hebrew, and it was a rendition of the Ten Commandments. Now,
this is before the conquerors came and conquered. These people had this. It's in Hebrew. It's not in English. So we know it didn't come from the British. This is English. I'm sorry, this is Hebrew. Hebrew text, Ten Commandments, Moses. This native, this Indian, had this here already. Get Second Esdras queued up. You know which one I'm looking for.
this is another piece. Block Hebrew. They said they'd never seen anything like it. Mainstream archaeologists at the time called this a hoax. But then in 1900, or just about after 1900, in Israel, they found the same block-style Hebrew writing. Mainstream archaeologists still dismissed the findings. They found it in Israel, and they found it in Ohio. But there was another stone that they found that they couldn't argue.
So they tried that, and this always happens. When we start getting information that's, it's getting a little closer to them learning. I'll just say it's fake. It's BS. It's a hoax. They said, but then they found something that they couldn't refute.
Creek stone.
The Bat Creek Stone. I'm trying to make sure y'all hear these things. The Bat Creek Stone. Leave it unmuted, Rob.
It was found during the course of an official Smithsonian evacuation.
The Smithsonian on the East Coast. It's a museum.
The Smithsonian didn't understand the meaning of the writing on the stone. They thought it was Cherokee, since it came from Cherokee country.
Wait. They thought it was Cherokee because it came from Cherokees. Just listen. Came from the Cherokees, came from Native Americans.
They didn't realize that it's actually Hebrew. They had published this originally upside down. They threw it in a box at the bottom of the Smithsonian, put it in the basement. Many years later, a scholar took it out of the box, looked at it, and went, oh my gosh, it's upside down. It's Phoenician, ancient Hebrew. So what's going on here? What is that about? Where is that history? I'll show you in a few minutes, and we're going to have a conversation, and I'm going to show you some more things that the Smithsonian, science, government, commerce colluded to erase. By the way, I want to thank the directors of the documentary Lost Civilizations of North America for bringing these stories to my attention. I was blown away. To find more, visit the website lostcivilizationdvd.com. Here's the thing we should be asking ourselves. I don't know the story of these. Do you know that? Did you know that? Do you live in Ohio and did you know that?
Right.
Why not?
Why not? So this is just the start of the point that I'm bringing up because, you know, these people are not Israel, apparently. They found a number of things in North America from the Indians that were Hebraic. They seen a number of the pyramids in North America, because they have them in Central and South America too, the exact same architectural structure as the ones in Egypt, which the Israelites built. Let's continue on. Go to the next slide. This is from Nova on PBS. Nova is like the educational segment faction of PBS, right? This is actually off of their website. You can actually pull this up. I have the articles, I have the links, I have all of that, right? Nova on PBS. Let's read.
In the early 16th century, Bartolome de las Casas became the champion of the Native American Indians, devoting his lifetime to improving the conditions in the West Indies, Peru, and Guatemala.
They embellished a bit because he wasn't really there to help them out. He wasn't. But this is a book by Bartolome de las Casas that speaks on the things that the Indians went through. Because they called anyone that was on this side Indian. You were in America, Indian. Mexico, Indian. Brazil, Indian. Everyone was Indians, right? This is a. If you get this book, you got to brace yourself. It's some sick stuff. Like, we hear about the Conquista, we hear about the things that they did, but when you read it and you see like, yo, this was foul. We're going to grab a couple of things out of here because these people are not Israel. They don't go through the curses. There's no history that proves it. All right. Read on.
Las Casas wrote, these Indians can bring near the redemption. If we treat them humanely in this world and convert them to Christianity, we are preparing for the redemption of the Western world in the Messianic era.
Right.
Their conversion is apt indeed.
That means it's more than sufficient. It's needed. Read.
As I am convinced.
He's convinced. Read.
The Indians originate in ancient Israel.
So, got the archaeology, got the pyramid structures, got the little man in the box, Hebrew inscriptions, historians believe in it. Read on.
Indeed, I can bring proofs.
And he can prove it, read.
From the Bible that they are of the lost tribes.
He said, I can go into the Bible and we can read what you want to read, Esdras, what you want to read, prophecies, you want to read,
he
them
said
curses.
he had precepts. He said,
right.
He said,
where's the precept on that? I got you. But I'm going to show you more history first. Then we can touch on some precepts. Next slide. Same thing, Novo on PBS. Watch this.
the association of the Indians with the lost tribes was heard again and again.
This was not a one-time thing. People kept saying this. A lot of people believe this. Read.
The report by Portuguese traveler Antonio Montezinos, some 120 years later, aroused remarkable interest.
Right? So Bartolome de las Casas said this in the 1400s. Montezino said this in the 1500s. Read.
It was a thrilling journey I took in South America.
South America, right? Read.
Now that I am back in...
I'm sorry, because we were talking about North America earlier, the pyramids.
West Indies.
Right.
Right.
We were talking about North America, the things that were found in Ohio, the things that was found on the East Coast with the Cherokee tribes and all of that, right? He said, I found these things in South America. Just listen. Because, again, all of these people were Indians according to them. Read.
Now that I am back in Amsterdam, I must share with you some incredible news. There's a Jewish Indian tribe living beyond the mountain passes of the Andes.
This is toward, what's the country that's west of Brazil? Argentina?
Chile or Peru?
I think it was Chile. It might be Chile.
What, that little snaky one?
Yeah. There's a group that live, a Jewish group that live past the mountains in that area, right? Matter of fact, I hate giving out bad information.
Yeah, we can look that up.
Where is the Andes Mountain?
Andes.
Okay, let's do this. Yeah. This will make it easier. Okay, that's not helpful.
See?
Oh, it is. That's the, okay.
That's
so
the long
I think that's Chile. Or is that Argentina? Let's find out.
Chile. Chile.
Actually, the Andes Mountain runs through Peru, Bolivia, and Chile.
With Argentina on the other side.
Right.
Yeah.
So, South America, down that particular area, he said we found some Jewish tribes over there. Read.
Khan.
Indeed,
I myself heard them recite the Shema, the expression of the Jewish faith, and saw them observe the Jewish rituals.
This is from Lost Tribes and Promised Land. I actually believe that I have. I think I have the actual quote from the book in here. We might actually read the whole thing. Let's go to the next slide. The Origin of the American Indian by Lee E. Huddleston, page 71.
The Incas held a festival in March similar to the Passover. The Yucatecan Indians practiced circumcision. Mexicans and Incas had eternal altar fires. Some Nicaraguans would not allow women who had recently given birth into the temples. Other parts of the law observed at various places included those which said that men should not sleep with women who had recently given birth.
So the Incan Empire says Inca, also spelled Inca, South American Indians who at the time of the Spanish conquest in 1532 ruled an empire that extended along the Pacific coast of the Andean highlands from the northern border of modern Ecuador to the Malay River in central Chile. So this is still that same area, the Andes Mountain, Peru, Colombia, Chile. This was the Incan Empire. And they held all of these same Hebraic customs. So we dealt with North America. Now we talking about South America. Hebraic customs, Hebraic similarities. Read on.
Adulteresses were to be stoned.
That's biblical law.
Men and women must not wear each other's clothes.
That's biblical law.
And a widow must marry her nearest relative.
That's biblical law. If they decide to get married again, they marry the nearest of kin.
Within their tribe.
Biblical law. Torah. So these people were keeping Torah in the Incan Empire.
Isn't that also called Levirate marriage or something?
Something like that. I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay, that might be something a little different.
Oh, we do have it. The Lost Tribes and Promised Lands, page 364.
Let's get it.
By Ronald Sanders. Trying to make sure I give you guys these sources.
You know, pause the video, go back over it.
Right.
Google this information, look at the pictures.
Right. All right. Let's go. Page 364. Let's read.
Montezino's story, unclear as to the circumstances of his incarceration, is equally unclear as to those of his release. But released he was, and he immediately went to Francisco, revealing himself as a Jew. Montesinos proclaimed his conviction that Francisco's hidden people were of the same race as he.
Right.
Would Francisco lead him to them? The two men were soon back in the rugged mountains in which Francisco had made his initial revelation, marching relentlessly for a week before they finally came to a halt.
This is the Andes the Andes mountain that they're referring to.
It was a Saturday. Montesinos makes a point of telling us, and Francisco,
Salaki, go ahead.
he makes a point of telling them it was Saturday.
Right.
And they had come to a river larger than the Duero. Are there echoes of the Sambation in all of this? Here, Francisco announced, is where your brothers will be seen. Waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke far beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, the two men waited.
Go to the next slide.
Eventually, a canoe appeared bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians, to the place where Francisco and Montesinos were standing at the water's edge. The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montesinos could not understand, although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation.
Right.
She then turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing her words, they rose, went over to Montesinos, and to his utter astonishment said, Shema Yisrael Adonai Elohinu Adonai Ehod, which is translated, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one.
These are Indians in South America reciting the Hebraic Shema, the Hebraic credo, saying the Lord our God is one Lord. We believe in one Lord. There's only one living God. And it says Shema Israel. They were identifying themselves as Israelites. For the people saying that these people are not Israelites. Read on.
They had recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism. A brief conversation then ensued in their common ancestral tongue, according to Montesinos, whose fluency in it almost as perplexing to the reader of his narrative as it is that of his 3 mysterious new companions. They told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben.
So there were Reubenites in Peru, there were Reubenites in Chile,
and that the tribe of Joseph.
And you know, I don't care. Because Reuben's supposed to be the Seminole Indians. The Andes Mountains runs from Chile to Peru. Chile ain't the Seminoles. They talk about some of the Perus, those of Peru went up into the East Coast, whatever the case is. That's just me, dealing with a separate situation. But it said they were of the tribe of Reuben and the tribe of Joseph. Read.
And that the tribe of Joseph.
I'm sorry. They were from the tribe of Reuben, and the tribe of Joseph was what?
Lived on an island nearby.
When we say so-called black, Latino, and Native American people are the children of Israel, people don't understand the work that we put in to say this. They don't understand the research that we do. And for those that do understand who they are, they don't understand the severity of it. It's crazy. But for those that say that these people are not Israelites, now mind you, because I wasn't sure how long this was going to be, I have way, this is a fraction of the information that I have. There's so much more on both sides that we can deal with. Go ahead and go to the next slide. We got one more dealing with so-called Latinos and Native Americans.
Indians or Jews, page 23, by Lynn Glazer.
By Lynn, it might be two S's, it might be Lynn Glasser. I don't remember because I typed this in.
Okay.
But I have the PDF. I'll go back and double check. But Indians or Jews, page 23, by Lynn Glaser or Lynn Glasser, right? This is off page 23. Go ahead.
The belief that the Native Americans were the 10 lost tribes of Israel held the upper hand for centuries.
Couple weeks?
For centuries.
Couple months?
For centuries.
Couple years?
For centuries.
For just a couple decades.
For centuries.
Hundreds of years people believe this.
And we're talking hundreds of years after 1400, 1500?
Yes. Hundreds of years. When this is the crazy part, right? When individuals didn't have no TV, all you had was history and books, and people cared about this stuff. These people believe this. They seen it in their culture. They saw it in their archaeology. They saw it in their inscriptions. They saw it in the Bible itself. They understood this for hundreds of years. And now you got people who barely coming into the truth, who don't know a damn thing. They not Israel. You're an idiot. You don't know the Bible. You don't know history. And I say that wholeheartedly, without remorse, because when you try to remove a portion of the culture, a portion of our people, I know how I would feel about that. I know that I'm a child of the Most High God, and I got people telling me that I'm not. You telling me I'm a Gentile, I'm a heathen. The Lord said I'm not. You're taking away my promise. So, get out of here. They knew this for centuries. Read on.
God. In the face of the mystery of the Indians' origin, it was necessary to find a biblical or at least ancient authority for their presence. And through the 19th century, most people knew enormous amounts
through
about...
the 1800s, that's the 19th century, read.
Most people knew enormous amounts about the Bible and the people therein.
So, a lot of people already understood the Bible. They understood what it said. They seeing these customs. They like, dang, they doing, that's come from the, dang. Hundreds of years, they seen this. Go ahead.
And virtually nothing about other cultural schemes.
Right. So a lot of these people didn't, all they knew was the Bible. All they knew was Torah. So when they seeing these things, they're like, yo, I seen that. I've read that. Read.
Consequently, they could easily find the parallels.
They could what?
Easily find the parallels.
They was reaching.
Easily find the parallels.
It wasn't something that was like, we gotta bend the laws of physics to make this make sense. They said you could see it. It was easily seen. The parallels between what?
The strange,
customs,
peculiar,
right? Customs
of the Hebrews and similar ones in America.
The Indians that were here were doing the exact same customs. We've seen this for hundreds of years. We know for hundreds of years we believe these people was the children of Israel, the lost 10 tribes. Go ahead.
All the early Spanish historians
All the historians from the 1400s on up
noticed the similarities between the customs of the Indians and the Jews.
They're not Israel. You're an idiot. Shut up. You don't know the Bible? You don't know history? And you probably ain't even got up off the porch. You don't know nothing outside the block. They ain't got no ghettos down there. You've never been down there. And clearly you don't do no research. The ghettos that we have, they wish they had. These are the Jews too. So-called black, Latinos, and Native Americans, you are the Jews that the Bible speaks of. I told you at the beginning why this was important. We know who we are. We know what we must do to get back where we belong. I want to touch on a few. Go to Deuteronomy 28. We're going to read 15. We're going to drop down to 46.
Deuteronomy 28 and 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God.
So we went through the history, we went through the cultures, we went through the archaeology to see who the Israelites were. Now we're going to see who cares, why. Why? Well, two things. We're going to see who cares, we're going to see why, and then we're also going to see who fits these curses. Go ahead.
To observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
It says these curses will come. This is one of the top things that Israel uses to identify who are the children of God according to the Bible. These curses. We're going to touch on them. Verse 46.
God. Verse 46. And they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
Until y'all repent and get it right, it's going to follow y'all. You're going to always know who these people are because they're going to be in these conditions as a whole. That's what it's saying, right? I want to touch a couple of them, and I want y'all to just to see what's going on. Verse 16.
Verse 16, cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
Cursed shall you be in the city. Seen the projects? You seen Mott Haven? You seen the Bronx? You seen Watts? Seen the Nickerson Gardens? You seen the Jordan Downs? Flatbush? You seen all the gutter areas in Alabama? You seen the what's that called? I'm drawing a blank right now. The favelas in South America? Cursed shall you be in the city. Look at your streets smell like piss. All these crackheads walking around. Can't even function. Niggas getting robbed all the time. Getting gunned down by police and your own. Cursed shall thou be in the city. Cursed shall thou be in the fields. Who are the field workers? It's not just Hispanics and Native Americans. So-called black people out there too. But there's a lot of undocumented people. One of our beloved brothers out in Oregon, he just told me about this. Blew my mind. Didn't even know about that. They basically out there working, undocumented immigrants, mainly Hispanics, for damn near nothing. They're paying them damn near nothing. And they're like, if you say something, we're going to deport you. So they working them like slaves, cursed in the fields to this day. The grapevine, same thing. That's going on today. Now, again, I've said that Israel scattered across the four corners, but the majority of us ended up here. 2nd Ezra 13 and 40 talks about, read that. 2nd Ezra 13, I think does it start
40.
at 40?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
2nd Ezra chapter 13 and verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, who Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive.
Shalmaneser,
and he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land.
That's when they were taken as slaves into Assyria. Read.
But they took this counsel amongst themselves.
So this lasted about 70 years. That was the Assyrian captivity. Read.
That they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
So they went to a place where nobody else had lived. This was approximately 700 BC. They were in captivity for a couple of decades. They said, we're going to leave to somewhere where nobody dwelt. People were in Africa. People were in India. People were in Asia. People were in Europe. Western Hemisphere had not been inhabited yet. These people came here. There's a whole nother breakdown on that. But because I knew I was going to be short on time, I didn't place that in here. I'm hitting straight to the point. Read on.
Gone. That they might keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. And they entered into Euphrates by the narrow passage of the river.
So they ended up, they got themselves into the river. Read.
For the Most High then showed signs for them and held still the flood till they were passed over.
Read.
For through that country there was a great way to go.
So to get to where they were trying to go, it was a long passage, and they're going to specify how long. Read.
Namely, a year and a half.
It took a year and a half to get where they were trying to go. Read.
And the same region is called Arzareth.
Arzareth, right? Unknown land. Said it took a year and a half to get there. You know anything about maritime sailing? The very first individual to circumnavigate the world, Ferdinand Magellan. Mind you, they didn't have motorboats back then. They caught the sails. They knew they knew how to travel in the ocean. Ferdinand Magellan, I think around the 1400s or the 1500s, he took his trip around the world to see if he could make it. He died, but some of his crew made it. It was a crew of a couple dozen men. Took him 3 years to get all the way around the earth, circumnavigate it completely. They said it took them a year and a half to get where they were trying to go. Go look at a map from the Euphrates River, catching those currents around Africa to the Americas is approximately half of the earth. It took a year and a half to get to this place on ships. In the floods. We also have sources. It was some Native Americans that said our people came from a completely different land over a great deluge, a great flood. I'm just putting this out there for you. You say they're not Israel, you tripping. You don't know the Bible. So, back to the curses, the favelas, the gangs. Gangs ain't just us. You know, F-13s, G-13s, MS-13s, Great Watts Barrios. They got a gang of gangs too. They got projects too. They was in the cotton fields too during slavery, before slavery. As a matter of fact, let me see. Do I have that paper? Is this the paper? Let me see. Okay, we're not there yet. No, we ain't gonna use none of them yet. They were in the fields just like us. They cities is just like ours. Trash, just like ours. Deuteronomy 28, read that again.
Deuteronomy 28:16. Cursed shalt thou be in the city, and cursed shalt thou be in the field.
And I had depictions in the PowerPoint for you to see. This is on both sides, black and brown, and Native American. They got gangs and reservations. They out there getting drunk, getting high, committing suicide. They field in their cities is cursed too. The average wage on the reservation is like $8,000 a year. Or is it like $10,000 a year? Something crazy low. Deuteronomy 28 and 28:16. Definition of ghetto: a part of the city, especially a slum area, occupied by minority groups or groups. Formerly a place where the Jews reside. This is the the definition. The Jews resided in the ghettos. Jews resided in the ghettos. Let's go to here's a map. I wish you guys can see it, of all the gangs just in LA. We got, I'm going to read them off to you. 18th Street, the Avenues, Bounty Hunters, Eastside Weemas, neighborhoods. Neighborhoods, it's from the 20s to the 60s to the hundreds. Hoovers, Denver Lanes, Pirus. These are in our areas. All these gangs in our areas. The terrorism in the hoods in our areas. Cursed shall be our cities. We go out and teach all the time. Slauson and Western. Smell like piss. Crackheads and homeless people walking around over there. Just about everyone else that teaches. Out there in drawing a blank. What's the name of that area? It's a spot in New York. Small area in New York. Brothers at HOI got a camp out there. I can't remember the name of the area. But in New York, the Bronx, and a couple of other Israelite areas, ghettos. Toe up. Cursed shall thou be in the city, and then cursed shall thou be in the field. It happened in history, and it's happening today. People are still cursed in the fields. Drop down to 23. Deuteronomy 28 and 23. Read that.
God. And the heathen, Salakia, and the heaven that is over thy head shall be brass, and the earth that is under thee shall be iron.
It says when you look up, it's going to be brass. When you look down, it's going to be iron. You're going to be in a cage. You're going to be locked up. I'm going to read something to you. According to, let me give you the source. I put it somewhere in here. BOP.gov. About the statistics, inmates by race. Then I also have some stuff by census.gov and then the sentencingproject.org. BOP has to do with the prison population. The Bureau of Prison Population, I believe that's what it's called. From this site, according to the report, black Americans are incarcerated at a state average of 1,240 persons per 100,000 residents, whereas Latinos are in prison at about 349, and white non-Latinos are incarcerated at 261. Now, here's the thing. A lot of Latinos identify as white, right? So even the ones that are Israelites, you wouldn't know. The way that they deal with the census is what you check off in the box. There's a lot of Latinos that say, I'm not Latino, I'm white. So you're going to see a weird number, but it still doesn't take away from the fact that the Latinos are at a higher rate. Even with some of them, a decent amount of them checking off as white, there's still more than so-called white people. It says, Wisconsin leads the nation with the highest rate of imprisonment of black Americans with 2,742 per 100,000 black residents incarcerated in state prisons. Among the country's Latino population, Arizona is the highest incarceration at 742 per 100,000, while black Americans are on average 4.8 times more likely to be incarcerated than white people. In some states, such as New Jersey, black Americans can be up to 12.5 times more likely to be incarcerated than white Americans. Let's talk about all of the prison bills that were geared toward a specific demographic. When you look at the NAACP, they talk about the prison population. Black and Latinos make up That was loud. Black and Latinos make up approximately 65 or 68% of the entire prison population. Now, mind you, according to Census.gov, Black Americans only make up 13.4% of the American population. That's what the census says. We're only 13% of the population. But we are approximately 45 to 50% of prison population. The other 20%, which makes it, is 25%, which makes it damn near 70%, excuse me. The other, we're approximately 45%. The other 20%, which makes it about 65%, are Latinos. Everything else outside of that, you got like 15, 20% white, then you got the Asians, then you got the others, Hawaiians and Islanders and all of that, right? But for someone who only makes up about 13% of the population, it says that we make up approximately 40 to 45% of the prison population. According to the NAACP, 32% of the U.S. population is represented by African Americans and Hispanics. So as a whole, Hispanics make up about 21%. We make up 13.4, 14%. It says, but together we make up approximately 60% of U.S. Incarcerated population being represented by us. The NAACP also states African Americans are incarcerated 5 times more than the rate of whites. Hispanics are 2 times as much. And then I had a bunch of pictures to show you all of our people in jail. The heaven above shall be brass. The bottom, the floor beneath thy feet shall be iron. You don't see Jewish people going through this. The ones that call themselves those people. Verse 30.
God. Thou shalt betroth the wife, and another man shall lie with her.
This happened in slavery. This is happening today. A lot of people go through this today. A big part was in slavery. They used to take our women. These were our wives. These were our fiancés. We were kidnapped. Our families were separated. Nigga, do the little monkey dance for me. I'm finna go in here, over here, into the barn with all the slave women and rape them while their husbands on the other side in the male barn listen. That happened. And today it's a little more, what's the word? Voluntary. Because it doesn't say how this would happen, but a lot of our people are big on infidelity. It's unfortunate. A lot of our people are big on infidelity. The curses that we would endure. Black and Latino. Latinos did the matter of, that was one. Verse is that 30?
God.
I'm going to read page 73 of this. Watch this. The Spaniards, the devastation of the Indies, page 73 by Bartolomé de las Casas. The Spaniards broke up marriages, separating husbands and wives, robbed couples of their children, took themselves the wives and daughters of the people, or gave them to sailors and soldiers as consolation. And the sailors bore them away on their vessels and were crowded with Indians, all of them dying of hunger and thirst. And truth to say, if one wanted to tell about the detail or to describe the cruelties perpetrated, it would make a big book that would horrify the world. They were separating families, taking these women and giving them to other men. There's another one in here. I'm not sure what page it's on. It said that it would be times where they were trying to lay with a woman and she would fight. Like, no, I don't want it. It said the men, the men that were trying to rape her, then stabbed her to death. Not just one time. Like when you in jail and you get shanked up, they did that to this woman because she didn't want to lay with them. Come on, bruh. Drop down to verse 32.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
I'm just trying to get the name of this individual. I don't want the book. What's his name? No, that's the name of the book. What's the name of the guy that said, who said this? Give me 1 second. There we go. Richard Henry Pratt. Captain Richard Pratt was one that he was a pillar in this the institutionalization of Native Americans. He learned that we shouldn't murder the Indians. He said, let's take their children, kill them by destroying their culture, and program them how we want to program them. Slavery, they separated our families and took our kids away from us too. Native Americans dealt with that too. There's a, matter of fact, it said it right here. It said, Spaniards broke up marriages, separating husbands and wives. They robbed couples of their children and took for themselves wives and daughters of the people, or gave them to sailors as consolation. Native Americans dealt with that too. Hispanics dealt with that too during the conquest. So-called African Americans, we already know about that stuff in slavery, separating all of our homes, taking our children away from us. Those that call themselves today never endured none of this. 37.
And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Lord shall lead thee.
We're in astonishment. Sometimes in a good way. Oh my God, look at them play basketball. Oh my God, look at them, look at their athletes. Oh my God, look at this person has a higher IQ than blah, blah, blah. Times in a bad way. Look at these clowns shaking their ass on TV. Look at them shooting each other down. A proverb and a byword. You want to hide something from a, put it in a book. Niggas, Afro-American, African-American, Spicks, Beaners, Wetback Paisa. Come on. I think it's in, I think the Muslims have a specific word for it. I think it's called kata. And that's like that's a word.
That one's deep.
That's a word. Astonishment, proverb, byword. Our people. Other nations don't have that. We do. We started to say little things like, oh, red dot, shit, like, okay. But like, this is stuff that's been going on. All nations agree. They don't trust us. We're the meanest. We're the most violent. We're the most aggressive. Stuff that this is us according to them. What was that, 37? 49 through 50.
Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
So-called Latinos didn't understand Spanish when the Portuguese came over here, or the Spaniards came over here, excuse me. They didn't understand that. Said, I'm going to bring them, and they're going to be fierce. Read this book, and you're going to see how fierce. Read this book, and you're going to see how fierce these individuals were. It's disgusting. I might read you guys a couple of things if we have a little bit of time. I'm going to see. But I'm trying to blast through this because we started about 20 minutes late. I'm going to try not to go over 5 more minutes. So-called African Americans, you know, the Africans on the west coast of Africa, they didn't speak English. They didn't speak French when these people came and took us and brought us to the Americas and enslaved us. Read.
A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
Young or old, they didn't care. If they like that little girl, they're going to rape her. If they like your wife, they're going to rape her. That old lady, she useless. I'm going to kill her. That old man, he useless. Get rid of him. They didn't care. There was no sympathy for the things that they did for black and brown people. Go get this book. All of the other history you can easily find online. But this right here, for those who say, oh, they don't go through the curses, read this damn book. This is crazy. That's the end of 50? 54, and then drop down to 56.
54. So that the man that is tender among you and very delicate, His eyes shall be evil toward his
There
brother,
used to be a thing called brotherly love amongst our people, and now we hate the hell out of each other. Read.
and toward the wife of his bosom,
We hate our women. Read.
and towards the remnant of his children,
Fuck them kids.
which he shall leave.
What? He gonna hate his kids and he gonna lead them. Where does that happen? Drop down to 56.
The tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter, and towards her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and towards her children which she shall bear.
Look at all of these women now, and look at what they teaching their daughters. They hate them little girls. They teaching them to be little thought mamas. They shaking their booty in front of their sons. Grown women bragging about, girl, I had 20 abortions. Who was the Israelites? Who was going through these curses? Latinos and Native Americans, boy, let me tell you, I live in an area where Latinos, they do this same shenanigans. Who's the Israelites today? Predominantly. That was all of 56?
Con, or
Drop.
you want to finish it?
That's all we need. Go drop down to verse 66.
Con. And thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shalt have none assurance of thy life. In the morning thou shalt say, would God it were even, and at even thou shalt say, would God it were morning. For the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
Who's the Israelites? Who deals with that? Who? I hear people say this all the time. I fear for my child's life. He's only 12 years old, and I gotta explain to him if a cop pulls you over, or if a cop stops you, make sure your hands is up. Make sure you move slow. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do that, because they can shoot you. Little 12-year-old kids getting gunned down. Little 12-year-old girls getting body slammed on their head. We right here on Florence between Normandy and Western. This is gang. This is a gang area. We didn't have brothers out here. We got our fringes on, Bible in our hand, just talking. Young goofballs pull up. Hey, my nigga, this is my hood. Why you niggas out here? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Like,
Where
bro,
you from?
Bro, we talking about the Bible. I don't care about none of that. Y'all niggas need to get off the corner. Oh, y'all niggas think it's funny? Okay. You could be gunned down by your own people. You be gunned down by police. If you in the South, you could be gunned down by your average redneck. Not just gunned down, killed by these individuals. You have none assurance of your life. Do those people that call themselves, I'm going to call them the Revelation 2:9s, do the Revelation 2:9s go through that? Do you see them going through that? Who these curses hitting? For real. Who these curses hitting? 68.
And the Lord.
Before you read it, Mexicans ain't never went through that shit. They ain't go through slavery and shit. Okay, watch this.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again. And there shall ye be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
He said, y'all gonna go into Egypt. When you read the Bible, the Lord always referenced Egypt as the house of bondage. Scriptures talk about we will be in a place today known as modern day Egypt. Not the same, but it'll be a very similar captivity. We be all be there together, and they gonna put a yoke on our necks. They're gonna put us in a specific type of bondage, right? We were supposed to go there on ships, right? I don't even got to talk about so-called African Americans. We know this. Transatlantic slave trade. That's easy work. We know this already. Before it was them, it was the what they call them,
Arab slave trade?
The Arab slave trade, exactly.
Throughout all Africa.
And they did us greasy too. But predominantly we here in the Americas, transatlantic slave trade, or in the extension, or I guess America would be considered the extension, the original, quote unquote. When you go and you read the history, let me show you something. I'm gonna read this one first. These Spaniards sent by shiploads down the coast to be sold in Peru. The Spaniards sent by shiploads down the coast of Peru to be sold. So they had other tribes, you could call them, in Mexico or Central America. The Spaniards came, they were capturing them, they were raping them, then they were taking them, putting them in ships, sending them down to Peru to be sold as slaves there to the conquista that were down there. Page 80 of this same book. I'm going to read that to you guys too. It's crazy. However, gold could be made of those bodies and souls for whom Jesus Christ died, because he's saying these people were the Israelites. He said, but they was making money off of them, selling them. And the Spaniards assembled all Indians they had allowed to survive. They gathered all the surviving Indians and sent them away on the many ships that came, attracted by the smell of slaves. They would be traded for wine and vinegar and pigs and clothing and for horses or anything else needed by the tyrant and his followers, or what they deemed necessary. Who didn't go on cargo slave ships? This one's just a bonus. Like I said, I wanted to bring one like, where do I want to read? We might read this whole thing, just so you can see, It would be hard to make anyone believe and harder still to narrate the infamous deeds in all their details. One incident may suffice. As Spanish wretches went about with their savage dogs trying to terrorize the Indians, men and women alike, one woman, thinking to soften the hearts of the Spaniards, tied her 9-year-old child to her foot and hanged herself from a beam. No sooner had she done this than the dogs arrived and tore the child to pieces. It must be added that the Franciscan friar baptized the child before it died. As the Spaniards prepared to depart from this kingdom, which one was this? I think I have to go to earlier pages. I'm not sure which one this is. This might have been the Incans. As the Spaniards prepared to depart from this kingdom, one of them told the son of a chieftain of a certain village to come with him. The boy said no. He did not want to leave his country. The Spaniard responded, "Come with us, otherwise I will cut off your ears." The boy still said no. He did not want to leave his land. The Spaniards unsheathed his dagger and cut off the boy's ear, first one, then the other. And when the boy said again that he did not want to leave, the Spaniard cut off his nose, laughing as he did so. And he had administered a punishment as trifling as to pull the boy's hair. This godforsaken man boasted about this act in front of a venerable religious, and also said that he worked as hard as he could to get the Indian women with child, for when he sold them as slaves, he would be paid more if they were pregnant. There's a lot more of the atrocities that were done. So to say they didn't endure these curses as well, you don't know the Bible and you don't know history. Who are the 12 tribes of Israel today? Predominantly so-called Native Americans, so-called black people, so-called Latinos. We've seen all of the historical information. We've seen the curses that people's spirit bear witness to. Seen the archaeology. All of that. Now, mind you, remember, they're all scattered across the four corners of the earth. People argue, oh, y'all got a congregation in the Philippines, that's off. Well, if you know anything about the history, one, a lot of people fled from Mexico to the Philippines. So if you're saying Mexicans are Israelites, there was a large portion of them that fled to the Philippines. There was people out there before we created our congregation that's been keeping, for decades, been keeping the laws of God. They've isolated themselves because they didn't believe in everything else that the other people were believing in. And the brothers from our congregation found them and said, man, they've been keeping this stuff for way before we became a part of the congregation and learned about this stuff. They was already keeping these laws. How they keeping the Torah if they're not Israel? Where they get it from?
God. Yeah, let me bring that
And
out.
this brother's gonna talk about just some real quick stuff, specifically about the Philippines, because I'm bringing this out because there's a lot of people that feel away that we have a congregation out there, not understanding that the scripture said we would be redeemed from the four corners of the earth. That includes Africa, that includes the Philippines, that includes portions of Hawaii, that includes different areas in Europe, that includes the Middle East, that includes India, everywhere.
Scattered with the whirlwind.
With the whirlwind, exactly. Go ahead. Bring out that information really quickly, and then we're gonna close it out.
I'll just touch on the Philippines real quick. So this is a research article. You can find it on Google Scholar. So it's classification trends among contemporary Filipino crania using 4-disc. So basically, they're looking at skeletons. They're looking at cranial structure. And that's a relatively old science to determine what kind of ethnic group you belong to, right? So I'll just read this excerpt from the abstract of this paper. Our results show the greatest classification into Asian reference groups, 72%, followed by Hispanic, 12%, Indigenous American, 7%, African, 4.5%. So we have in the Philippines 4.5% being African ancestry. We have an Indigenous American descent of 7% ancestry, and then a 12% being mixed ancestry of Indigenous American or Spaniard or African or Asian. So that's 20% being essentially separate from a pure Asian stock. Now, and that goes along with the slave trade that happened when the Spanish conquistas and Inquisition came to Latin America. They also went and extended to the Philippines. The Spanish set up their Latin American capital in Mexico, and that Mexican capital also controlled trade with the Philippines. They exchanged slaves from Mexico to the Philippines and back and forth. There's another article I have, and I would encourage you, because we're running out of time, to look up two things. One, the indigenous Filipino people, and you're going to find that there are indigenous Filipino people with African phenotypes. And two, you're also going to find that about a high number, and in some places of Mexico, up to 1/3 of Mexicans have Filipino ancestry. So because of all that cultural exchange and back and forth. So I would encourage you to look that up, and we're running out of time. I'll just give you the last source. It's going to be science.org, and it's called Latin America's Lost Histories Revealed. It gives you a great rundown of Sephardic ancestry and relationship in Latin America, and also Latin America's relationship to the Philippines, and how Africans were involved in building up many of these Latin American and Philippine places. Shalom.
God. And so there you... Who are the 12 tribes of Israel today? There was a plethora of information brought out today, plethora of scriptures and the curses to show it. We, so-called Black Latinos and Native Americans, are the children of Israel. You've heard it from other nations. You heard it, you've seen it in the archaeology. And it's irrefutable at this point. Why does it matter? Because we need to know that this is who we are and this is what's required of us so we can get out of these cursed conditions. So it's time for us to get it right. It's time for us to repent. I pray to the Most High that this was edifying. I pray to the Most High that if you had any doubts before, prove to me you're an Israelite. I pray to the Lord that this gave you a crap load of ammunition to prove the point of who you are. All praise to the Most High, Brother Darash and Brother Yathrawan. There's been another segment of Bible Basics, True Nation Bible Basics. We signing out. Shalom.
Shalom.